Hello, I'm Dan Dawson in association with The Sportsman, looking ahead to another week of Premier League Darts action. This week, week 3, it comes from Dublin. It is always a phenomenal night over in Ireland. It is, of course, the city where Dabble Gurney won the World Grand Prix a couple of years back, his first major title. We will get to Gurney in a moment, but before that, let's have a look back at what happened in week 2, because I predicted that Michael van Gerwen was going to win his game. He did do. It's a pretty nondescript performance from MVG, not his best at all, but he got the job done as I expected him to do so. Dabble Gurney was the man I tipped up to beat Glendowen. All the other big name pundits, and I say other big name pundits, the actual big name pundits, not me, they were saying Glendowen was going to win. It did not happen. Gurney was absolutely clinical. Durrant showed how good he is at the weekend. He won his first PDC title, but I just thought, odds against for the world number 5, you had to look for Gurney for value. And it came in. Now, I was looking at value for Peter Wright and James Wade as well in their games. They were both close to 2-1 to go and win their matches. Wade was 3-1 up on Rob Cross, but ended up losing. Peter Wright nearly stole a win away from Michael Smith. He actually had a chance despite playing nowhere near his best. Michael Smith lacking a bit of killer instinct. That one ended in a draw. So he got 2 right, we got 2 wrong. But I'm still convinced if you get the value that those bets are offering, you stick with that and take those opportunities, will make money over the course of this tournament. So, week 3, where's the value? Well, one game stands out, and I know last week I was telling you I'm going to predict Michael van Gerwen to win every single game, because even though he is going to lose a couple of games, you don't know where they're going to be, most of the time you expect him to get the job done. Not so this week. He has taken on Rob Cross. Rob Cross, former world champion, world number 2, he tops the averages in the Premier League after the first 2 weeks. He tops the averages on the Pro Tour after the first 4 events. Now, he's not won one of those yet, and Van Gerwen's won a couple, but if he does keep playing at this standard, he will get his rewards. He will win titles, and he will win big games against the best players in the world. He's already won 1 and drawn 1 in the Premier League this year, and I think that he can do it against Van Gerwen. He's already beaten him before. He beat him in the World Championship, famously, of course, but he has beaten him elsewhere in a World Series final. He managed to rattle off 6 straight legs to beat him down under in Australia last year, and he's beaten him on the European Tour. I think it could happen again. And at 4-1, I think you're mad not to have a go on it. I think it will be close, but Van Gerwen has looked a little bit unfocused over the last week or so. Even in winning a title on Saturday in Wigan, he just didn't look like he was properly focused and trying, and I think that means he's there for the taking if somebody can play their best game. Rob Cross looks to be playing his best game, and at 4-1, I think he could get quite a lot of money back, particularly if you're going to stick it in an ACCA, although you're a brave man to do it. So, where else are we looking? Obviously, Steve Lennon is the contender, the emerging Irish ace, young man from Carlow in Ireland. It's a guy that the PDC have brought in as a local hero and an up-and-coming young player. Now, he's just outside the top 32 in the world rankings. He's a good player, Steve Lennon. He can hit a lot of 180s. We've seen him make a Euro Tour final. He's had runs on the Pro Tour, but he's never really done a great deal on TV, and he's not playing his best stuff right now. I think that Peter Wright's going to have too much for him. Now, you're not going to get rich back in Peter Wright. He's 2-1 on. But if you were looking at a bet in that game, that you might be able to make some money. Steve Lennon isn't hitting as many 180s as he has done, not at the minute anyway. He's not in the greatest form. Peter Wright, in the big TV tournaments, is actually throwing a thicker, chunkier dart, a 24-gram dart. It's to counteract things like drafts and breezes that sometimes you get in these big arenas. Now, that does make it a little bit harder to hit maximums compared to the thinner darts that he's using, cramming all 3 in the same treble 20 bed that he's been doing on the Pro Tour, and he's hitting loads of 180s there. Maybe you want to look at under 5.5 180s with BetVictor. You're getting 5 to 6 on that. That might be an option, particularly if that game goes short. I do expect Peter Wright to win it. It's just a case of by how much, and maybe we're not going to see an absolute barrel load of 180s with Lennon not massively in form and Peter Wright using these slightly thicker darts. Opening game of the night, I think it's a very difficult one to call about who's going to win it. You've got Gerwen Price, you've got James Wade, both of them in great form. Gerwen Price might be playing the best darts we've seen from him, the Grand Slam champion. It's 11-8, the pair of them. Now, I'd be edging slightly towards Gerwen Price to win it, but I think it's too close. Maybe you want to look at the draw. You're getting about 3-1 for the draw, but the real bet that stands out is looking at the checkout markets. Now, BetVictor have priced it up as 5 to 6 for a checkout of 119.5 or higher than 119.5. So a 120 Shanghai finish in that match between James Wade and Gerwen Price. I think it's nailed on. They're absolute monsters on treble 20 and double top. Double top is their favourite double for those two, particularly Gerwen Price. I think somebody's going to take out a Shanghai finish, or one that's bigger than that, and that is just an easy way of making money on that game, where I don't know what the outcome is going to be. When you're looking at Raymond van Barneveld, now I've had a couple of weeks of looking at him and avoiding his games because I just wasn't really sure what Barney were going to get. He was so lucky against Gerwen Price, so very lucky last week to come away with a draw. He survived a number of match starts and he just didn't look at it. I'm afraid I don't think we're going to see this great fairy tale run from Barney in his final Premier League season before retirement. And I think Mensur Soljovic, who is averaging 101 despite being bottom of the table, I think he's going to beat him, and I think he might beat him pretty well, maybe 7-3. It's only sort of even money for Mensur, 10 to 11 you can get with BetVictor. But I just think that you can't look at Barney. He is unpredictable, but I'm not seeing him give us enough to convince us that he can go and do something magical in his final Premier League campaign. Now, Daryl Gurney is the other game. He's taken on Michael Smith, and I still think that people are underestimating Daryl Gurney. Michael Smith lacking a little bit of killer instinct at the moment, and Gurney, he showed loads of it in beating Glenn Darrant last week. If you want to back Gurney there, 15 to 8, again, I think you're getting value there. So if you're going to pick the first game, Gerwen Price, James Wade, take your pick, but look at the checkouts there. Look at under the 180s in Peter Wright, Steve Lennon. But I do think that Rob Cross can beat Van Gerwen. I think that Daryl Gurney can defy the bookmakers and win again against Michael Smith. And I also think that Mensur Soljovic is going to make this a pretty miserable start to the Premier League for Raymond van Barneveld. If you look at an ACCA, you could put Mensur, you could put Peter Wright in there, you could put Rob Cross and Gurney. You're looking at 40 to 1. That's not bad. It's all set up for Ireland. I'm predicting MVG loses his first game of the Premier League campaign. Let's see if I'm right.